I see a quorum, so I will call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Kyle, can you conduct the roll, please?
Now you good? Can you hear me?
There we go. There you go.
All right. I'll go back. Clinton Baum. I'm present. Jeff Wishek. Nope. Michelle O'Connor. Kyle Anderson, me, present. Jim Baldwin.
Present.
Andrew Hefner.
Present.
Casey Copeland.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so we do in fact have a quorum. So since we are not all together and we do not have a flag, I will forego the Pledge of Allegiance.
Jim,
Yes, sir.
Glenn has a video he can play for the pledge.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and play that.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very nice. Okay, we will move on to the second item on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look through it?
Yes.
If so, if there's no objections, I will make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? And Kyle, will you conduct the roll for the vote?
All right. Kyle, yes. Jim.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
And then Casey. Does he count?
Yes.
Actually,
I don't really count, but I'll say
yeah,
yes.
actually,
Okay, so it's just us three then. Okay.
yeah, it's just us three doing the voting. So,
Okay. Just want to make sure.
The agenda.
And Jeff.
I think Jeff Wishick just joined.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I heard all that. I was here for the pledge. I vote yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item is the approval of the previous meeting minutes. And has everybody had a chance to look through those? I know they were sent out earlier. I looked through them.
I looked through them. I didn't see anything, so I will go ahead and make the motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I will go ahead.
Second.
And that. Okay, Jeff. Jeff made the second. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Do we have to do the roll call?
I think since we're doing this remote, we probably should just
Yeah.
so we got everything on record.
Okay. So Kyle, yes. Jim,
Aye.
Andrew,
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, so our next item is public request to speak. I don't know that we had any requests for anybody to speak. And since we're on Zoom, I really don't know how that would work. So if everybody's okay, we'll move on to presentations, which, do we have any? Chief, do we have any presentations tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we will move on to item 6, which is statistics and updates.
Okay, I assume everybody got a copy or all the documents that I sent?
Yes.
Starting off with the inspection and prevention as usual. We have 343 inspections completed. This actually completes our annual inspections for the year. 94 re-inspections, 189 new building inspections, and 28 C of Os with 70 plant reviews for the year. So even with the delay in COVID and being able to get to the annual inspections, Marshall Milstead was able to wrap them up this month instead of his usual August timeframe. So I'm sure there'll be a more normal inspections and possibly a couple re-inspections left. But that puts us at 43 more occupancies than last year's total.
Wow.
If there's no questions on that, for the pub ed and PR, we worked with the PR department in creating fire safety videos for social media for Fire Prevention Week. And I just want to give a huge thank you to Glenn and Kim as well for getting that set up and conducted. Excellent job. It was nice to be able to at least get something out there during Fire Prevention Week this year. As far as additional goes, it's our continued response to the COVID-19 pandemic. With the increase of numbers, we really don't have a stark increase of responses that are actually for potential COVID cases. Nothing we've seen as far as a major uptick that we can notice just yet. I know that's not the case for the hospital in general, as they continue to receive more, but so far so good. We officially put the new ladder in service towards the beginning of the month. So that right now is currently running out of station 271 until 272 is complete. And we also completed our annual work performance evaluations for all our personnel. Moving on to
Chief, I'm making the assumption that once station 272 is in service and you move the new Quint there, the apparatus that was servicing 272 will move to 271.
that is correct.
Okay.
For the training report for the month of October, we had a total of 3,577 hours of training, and you can see the different breakdowns there. EMS billing, we had a month-to-date revenue of over 10,000, bringing our year-to-date revenue just about to 120,000, and it's a 19% increase over last year. And then as far as run totals for the month and year, we had 86 for the month of October, bringing us to 844, which is just 5 runs ahead of last year. So we've kind of slowed down a little bit to where we were at this point last year, but we're still on track, we believe, to potentially hit 1,000 runs again this year. So,
Chief, do you think the COVID pandemic has had an effect on that?
it did slow things down, I think, a little bit. It's really hard to say, you know. I mean, you can't necessarily predict one way or the other, but you would have to think that our lower run totals during the spring and early summer would have to be contributed to, you know, people just not being out and about and doing as much, per se.
I would agree with that.
But that is all the stats I have.
Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me because I'm having to jump back and forth between screens here to get back to the agenda. Okay, so do we have any unfinished business?
No.
Okay, then we'll move on to new business. First item there looks like the discussion of the proposed 2021 budget.
All right. I also sent you guys a spreadsheet of the proposed budget. And essentially it's our line by line budget that includes our fire fund and our lit fund. Um, Goes into detail on everything, just kind of a summary. The proposed budget was a 3% overall increase. Now we moved some things around here and there, staying within the parameters of that 3% increase. Overall, going kind of taking it group by group, just to kind of summarize it. For the personnel services, we did just a couple of changes. We have, as far as the wages go, we have a proposed 2% increase in there across the board. What that is that's working towards, if you remember the justification spreadsheet from the salaries last year, working towards our target. That's another chunk out of that. That's not necessarily to our target where we need to be, but we're getting really close there. But we were able to afford that within there. You'll see there was a big decrease in our health insurance line. That has to do with the way the health insurance was budgeted for last year versus this year. This year we had kind of an update of an exact amount of our expenditures prior to the proposed budget time, which allowed us to take a good look at that. Anthem actually decreased our expenses as well. So you'll see deductions in there for that. Moving on to personal services. The only thing we increased in this section was the apparatus maintenance. This year we're actually negative in that line. We've been hit pretty hard with some expensive repairs. Within that though, within our supplies budget and our other lines in the supplies group, we were able to accommodate for that, but that's what is for there. And then in our other services and charges, there's really there's a deduction in the physicals line that's a sizable deduction. That was from what we originally proposed last year with Protein Tactical, and we kind of switched our direction with them, which is a whole lot less than the initial cost that was proposed. Other than that, there's an increase in utilities, anticipating our new building and trying to kind of determine where that's going to be. And then moving on into our capital outlays, we kept the amount that we had from last year for our capital outlays. And a lot of that last year was, or actually for this year, sorry, was for the remaining funds due for our new ladder truck and then the fire station project FF&E. So we kept that in there, and then the remaining increases in that line as well. There's a couple different options that we're looking at and we'll be proposing if this budget does come through, as far as the best ways to utilize this capital, whether it's kind of hanging on to it and putting it towards property for a third station, whether it's for maybe to pay off some lease payments and such. There's quite a few different options. Our staff vehicles lease rotation is up. So that's another thing. If we decide that's the best route to take, we could recommend that we utilize that for a purchase rather than a lease. So there's a lot of different things that we could weigh out there. So there's nothing truly earmarked, but there is definitely some worthwhile capital projects that we could utilize it for.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board on the proposed 2021 budget for the fire department?
Nope, I don't have anything.
Okay, Chief, is this something that we need to give a favorable or non-favorable recommendation to the council?
No, this has already been adopted by council at last
Okay.
month's council meeting.
Okay.
This is just kind of bringing up guys up to speed on what the final proposal was.
Okay. All right. Then Is that all you have on that agenda item?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we will move on to station headquarters update.
Okay, so on this update, obviously the project is further behind than we desire, considering the initial project end date was supposed to be by the end of October. Well, that has come and gone, and we still don't have the building weather tight. We did have a meeting today, and I pretty much kind of flat out demanded that we get some sort of realistic time frame. There are improvements going along as we go project, but it's still not where we'd like to see it. The way the project was bid, not having a penalty on that to keep our bid costs down. We really don't have anything much bite other than the likelihood of anywhere within the town using them again is probably slim. Other than that, quality is there. So I guess that's all I can hope for in the end. But it also brings us into another discussion of how the value engineering bid with certain allowances. Now, these project allowances are determined by Graver, contractor themselves, and a couple of them have fell way short of where they're at. So kind of moving on to that construction allowance sheet that I sent you, the signage allowance, that is on budget. There's no issues with that. The same with all the light fixtures, the generator, and then the A&E contingency fund that was in there. That was used for the roof changes that were fixing the discrepancy in the scope. And then our phone, telecom, low voltage, both of those together were for a total of $25,000. We are over budget on that, but that is covered within the FF&E that we have existing. And basically that phone, telecom, and low voltage includes all the AV, all the IT, all the door security, locks and such with that. So that allowance is very low to begin with. The other two remaining are floor covering and our casework. You can see that floor covering was over budget on the quote itself, and the casework quote is the same thing. I honestly don't have good information on why these numbers were and where they're hitting. But again, just kind of in that summary where they originated from the value engineered bid. So these overages are the potential charges that are there. We're working with the rep right now to see how much of that is actually going to be absorbed by the contractor and what really comes to play. So what I would like to do is I would like to propose that you consider an approval for us to spend up to an additional $200,000 for the project to cover those differences in the flooring and the casework. The money for these right now, we have anticipated unexpended funds that actually are totaling right now likely $381,000, which will go to the cash the end of this year. So there is ample money on that. There is also the option that this wouldn't happen as far as the cost until next year. We have that capital line in the proposed budget as well that we could utilize for this. What I'm looking for though is approval for that not to exceed amount for those items so we can proceed with the rest of that construction to make it happen.
How's the contractor's attitude with all the problems?
They are responsive to what we ask as far as a lot of the fixing things, and they have absorbed a lot of extra things that they have kind of done on their own, which has been nice. But the reluctancy to give us the timeline, especially when there's not a penalty on the line, is pretty frustrating.
Yeah. So you
Chief, with this-
anticipate,
Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
so you anticipate them working with you on some of the overages, but just in case you're asking to set aside the 200 from your budget, just in case you need some of it, if not all of it.
Correct.
Let me ask, is there any chance that if this 200 was approved, that the contractor would see that and then be less willing to absorb some of those costs? Is there any chance of that happening?
No, not necessarily, because they don't see the actual budget on our end. They just worry about the invoice, so they wouldn't have any idea as far as that goes. That is pretty much between us and the owner's rep as well.
Okay, so just so that we're all clear, you're looking for authorization to use up to your $200,000 to cover these overages, correct?
That is correct, and it would be just a recommendation to the council, and the council would have final approval.
Okay.
I'll
So-
make that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion,
I'll second.
and we have a second. Any other questions from the board? Okay.
I don't know. So I was just gonna say, if you can tie it in, if you approve these overages, maybe you could try to get a deadline in there with the overages approved. But it sounds like that ain't gonna happen.
Right.
Sorry.
So Jeff, do you want to amend your motion, or you want to leave it the way it is?
Let's leave it the way it is.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Okay, I'll turn it over to Kyle for a roll.
All right. Aye from me. Jim,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. And last item on the agenda is did we get that?
I think you froze.
Okay, well, we'll move on to agenda item 8F.
Okay. This agenda item, I forgot one important thing with the proposed budget. So within the, we did add a proposed position of EMS division chief and moving the administrative assistant from this year into a full salary next year, again, depending on when we move in. So technically that position has already been approved with this year's budget. This will be a continuation. We just haven't filled that spot yet. What I'm, I guess, requesting consideration for tonight is just for us to proceed with the hiring process for these positions within the coming couple months. And then obviously all as the appointing authority, you guys as a board would have that final approval next year as long as the proposed budget and everything remains on track.
So Chief, would this be where you would bring to us a candidate or candidates with a recommendation like we do with the regular hires for the regular staff?
Yes, it would be similar to that. It's likely both civilian positions. But with that being said, yes, it's going to be similar to that.
Okay.
And I will also have to get you job descriptions and everything else in the meantime.
Okay.
All I'm asking for right now is just kind of a blessing to move forward with the hiring process of proposed positions for next year.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board?
Nope.
Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the moving forward with the hiring process as submitted by the chief.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion. Kyle, did you second that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion from the board?
Nope.
Okay, Kyle, will you conduct the roll, please?
Kyle, aye. Jim,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to other business. Do we have any other business to be discussed?
No, sir.
Okay, our next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, December 2nd. Other than that, I will say wish the Bombs the very best with their new addition, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Kyle?
Kyle, aye. Jim,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night. I'm going.
You too.
Good night. Thanks.